Welcome, everyone. My name is Donna Levinson, and I have the privilege of being the Assistant Dean for Admissions at MIT Sloan. And I want to thank all of you for joining us this evening, perhaps tomorrow morning, earlier today, wherever you may be from around the world. I am joined by my colleague, Jen Barba, as well as an amazing panel of alums and current students who you will get to know a little bit better throughout the course of the next hour. I want to begin by reading a land acknowledgement statement. MIT acknowledges Indigenous peoples as the traditional stewards of the land and the enduring relationship that exists between them and their traditional territories. The land on which we sit is the traditional unceded territory of the Wampanoag Nation. We acknowledge the painful history of genocide and forced occupation of their territory, and we honor and respect the many diverse Indigenous people connected from time immemorial to this land on which we now gather. I also think it's important for any event that we hold that we always lead with the fact that we are a mission-driven school. You can read the mission statement yourselves. To me, this is really all about identifying and solving the world's most complex problems in order to make it a better place. And what you will find is that this mission is actually woven through our application process, through activities in the classroom, outside of the classroom, and through the work that our alums do throughout their lives. We have what we call a portfolio of programs. And so when you look at this, you can see we have offerings programs that really run the gamut in terms of the target populations. We start with early career people. We have a Master's of Finance and a Master's of Business Analytics for people, majority of them straight out of undergrad. We also have our 2-year MBA and our LGO program, Leaders for Global Operations, where in 2 years you can receive both an MBA degree and an engineering master's. For those of you who may be college seniors, I'm backing up a bit, who know that in your future you want to actually pursue an MBA, you're also welcome to apply to the MBA through our MBA early option, where you apply as either a college senior or a grad student. As long as you have not worked full-time, you'll be admitted to the program and then go and work for 2 to 5 years. We'll reach out to you every year and ask you if the next year is the time for you to matriculate, and we will be basically holding a seat for you during that 2 to 5 year period. On the other end of the spectrum, we have our Sloan Fellows MBA program, which is a 1-year in residence program where our students have on average 14 years of experience. And then finally at that other end of the spectrum there, we have our executive MBA program, where our students have on average 17 years of experience. These students are continuing to work full-time throughout the program, and they're traveling to campus every 3rd weekend and for a full week each semester. Part of the reason why we talk about this is because that for each of our programs, there's a fundamental construct of a core set of required classes, and then you take electives. And when you're taking electives, you're actually taking them in classes with people from these other programs. This is very much by design. Again, going back to that mission of really identifying and solving the world's biggest and most complex problems. In order to do that, we believe very strongly that we need people with different levels of experience, different perspectives, different diversity of thought to come together, and we're simulating that in our classrooms. You can see here, we also have several dual and joint degree programs, as well as 7 certificates. If you're wondering a little bit about that, if you've been tracking Sloan for a couple of years, you might be wondering, 7 certificates, I thought there were tracks and certificates. And for those of you, the alums on the panel, you're like, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. The reality is we used to have 3 tracks and 4 certificates. We've now combined them and created 7 certificates and standardized a little bit across them in terms of what the requirements are. But you can see they're all still here. Finance, entrepreneurship and innovation, enterprise management, sustainability, healthcare, data analytics, and digital product management. If you're thinking about the 2-year MBA, we have a 1-semester core and then 3 semesters to really shape the curriculum to meet whatever your personal interests are. And if you're interested in one of these areas, you could think of certificates as maybe roadmaps or concentrations. Okay, I would now love to introduce our moderator for the evening. This is Erica Capone, who is a current student. She's a rising second-year student, and she is the co-president of our Sloan Women in Management. So Erica, I'd love for you to introduce yourself and then introduce the panel.
Great, thanks so much, Donna. Hello, everyone. Really excited to be hosting this conversation tonight. As mentioned, I am a second-year MBA. I'm also one of the co-presidents for Sloan Women in Management, which we like to call SWIM here at Sloan. And so just for a little bit of background on SWIM, it's a student club on campus, and it's for anyone who identifies as a woman. And our goal is to create a supportive community and increase opportunities for all of the women at MIT Sloan through networking events, speaker series, professional development workshops, and mentorship programs. And right now we have about 500 members in the club at any time, and this does include individuals from any of the Sloan programs that Donna was just going through. So for a little bit more about me, before I came to Sloan, I worked at Deloitte Consulting, and I was in their healthcare technology practice. And then this past summer, I just wrapped up an internship in Bangkok, Thailand, where I was working for True Digital Group. And they recently acquired a telehealth startup called MoreD. And so I was working with them on increasing adoption of their product and telemedicine overall in the Thai market. So for the next about 30 minutes, we have some pre-planned questions with our panelists. And then after that, we'll have about 20 minutes at the end for any questions that you might have. As mentioned, you can put those in the Q&A function, and we'll answer some of those live at the end. So now we'd love to spend some time introducing the panelists. So if we could start with Bindu, we would just like to hear a little bit more about the program you were in when you were at Sloan or currently, your year, and what you were doing either before or after Sloan.
Thank you, Erica. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, I'm Bindu Chanagla. I did the Sloan Fellows MBA program and just barely graduated. It's been the best year of my life. I came to Sloan after almost 13 years of healthcare operations and technology experience at Intermountain Health and Select Health. It is a chain hospital system in the west side of the US. Prior to that, I had a couple of years of financial services experience in India. The reason I came to Sloan is to really reinvent myself, pivot, and see what I can do. But after much reflection, I wanted to stay in healthcare. Healthcare has my heart. And also US needs a lot of fixing there. So I thought, okay, I need to be here. I met my co-founder, Kristen, in the Sloan Fellows program. She and I were working separately on something that we both are passionate about. Our company's name is Nurture. We are working on improving the maternal mental health care in the US. So we are going to predict and prevent and hopefully provide an end-to-end care plan for women who are silently suffering, because a lot of times 85% of the women are undiagnosed and nobody talks about it because nobody is asking them. And we have been fortunate enough to be in the Delta V program. It's the MIT Accelerator program. So things are busy and we are almost wrapping up and getting ready for the demo day on September 8th. So if you're able, please dial in. Over to you, Erica.
Great, thanks. Yeah, I think we can just go down the list here. So then Irene, if you want to go next.
Hi, everyone. My name is Irene. I am an MBA at MIT Sloan, and I'm also doing one of those dual degree programs. So at the same time, I'm pursuing my master in public policy with the Harvard Kennedy School. It's 2 masters in 3 years. Before Sloan or before grad school, I worked for 5 years, also in healthcare. Healthcare also has my heart. I started in market insights consulting at GLG, Gerson Lehrman Group, working with life sciences and healthcare services companies. And then I went to a health tech startup focused on value-based care, which is part of what sparked my interest in policy. So during school, I have interned at Mass Health, which is the Massachusetts Medicaid program. I've also done some product management internships and dabbled in healthcare entrepreneurship as well, including through MIT's Sandbox program called Dive, with a focus on healthcare. Excited to be here and share more about my experiences today. And I'll pass it on to Monica.
Thanks so much, Irene. Hi, everyone. Monica Gotari. So nice to be here with this group this evening. I'm an MBA and I graduated in 2019. Prior to Sloan, I was in a 3-year analyst program at an asset management firm. So came to Sloan immediately after completing that program. When I was at Sloan, I interned at Wayfair and then in the category management department. And then after graduation, joined Capital One and have been there ever since. I'm one of the leaders on our students and grads team, and my experience at Sloan and SWIM actually helped me to realize that was exactly what I wanted to pursue after Sloan. So happy to chat about that more later. Tosin, over to you.
Thank you, Monica. Hi, everyone. My name is Tosin Mills. I graduated from MIT Sloan in 2018 from the full-time MBA program. Prior to attending MIT Sloan, I was living in the San Francisco Bay Area, where I worked in technology and product and sales operations at Twitter and LinkedIn. While I was at Sloan, I interned at Microsoft, helping to build our go-to-market for the Teams business, which took off over the course of the pandemic. I returned to Microsoft full-time after graduating in 2018, worked in product marketing and growth for Microsoft Teams as well as Microsoft Industry Cloud. And then late last year, I moved over to Adobe, where I'm helping to build their growth business for the Document Cloud. So I'm currently a principal growth product manager there, and I am based out in the Seattle area, but originally from New Jersey. All right, Lauren, I'll pass it over to you.
Hi, everyone. And we have an impromptu healthcare reunion here and panel here as well. So I am a Leaders for Global Operations, so dual degree student, graduated last year, May of 2022. And while at Sloan, I focused a lot on learning industrial engineering within the civil department to focus on supply chain. And then at Sloan, I focused a lot on learning more about some business fundamentals I didn't get in an engineering undergrad, and then pivoting into life science and healthcare, previously coming from chemicals manufacturing. 6-month internship, while wonderful, was hard for me to decide where to go within the broad span of life science and healthcare. So like a lot of MBA students do, I went into consulting to continue to further explore that area. So I am in life science and healthcare supply chain consulting right now at Deloitte, and really enjoying continuing to add value and explore in that space. And Jen and Don, I'll kick it back to you all.
Great. Thanks so much, everyone, for the introduction. So for our first question, wanted to kick off the conversation with a question that's probably top of mind for our audience members, which is, why did you choose to attend Sloan? So if we could start with Tosin answering that question, and then Lauren after that.
Oh my goodness, why did I choose to attend Sloan? So I knew I wanted to get my MBA at some point. But while making my way through tech, I realized that I am not a salesperson or a sales professional. I'm not going to become a software development engineer anytime soon. So all the other roles tended to be filled by MBAs or folks who had extensive consulting or banking or finance experience. So I knew at that point that it would be a worthwhile investment of my time and my money to pursue an MBA. As I started exploring programs, I was intent on pursuing a degree at an institution where, one, I could get a lot of hands-on experience. I didn't want to just be in the classroom, because I felt that a lot of the things that people associate with an MBA, finance, operations, you can learn online these days. So I needed to have experience in the real world. I also wanted experience in the physical world. I wanted to just understand, am I missing my calling? Should I be in the mining industry? I found that was not the case, but at least there's so much that I learned. I pursued a sustainability certificate, was able to work with a paper company in Chile. So just so many things that you can bring in from other industries to enrich your work. And finally, the third aspect that made Sloan stand out was that it was mission driven. I wanted to not just focus on problems that could make a lot of money, but problems that could actually improve the well-being of as many people as possible. And Sloan was one of the few programs that had a really great alignment of all of those areas, and then gave you so many opportunities to realize the mission. It just wasn't something that was slapped on the wall in the hallways. You actually had the opportunity, whether through your classes, through the student activities, even the kinds of conversations that you're able to have at the Yarn, or in your core team, or at Ask Me Anythings. A lot of those opportunities to just expand your understanding of yourself as well as business. So yeah, those would be my reasons for Sloan.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to resonate a lot with what Tonson said. I think since I was looking at dual degree programs, not only did I choose Sloan, but I chose MIT, and I really like that, Sloan is MIT's business school and it really includes the MIT in a lot of its mission and its statements. Because I think not only is Sloan a mission-driven school, but so is the wider institute. And first, as cheesy as this sounds, I chose it because of the people. Like everyone says that, and I thought that they were ridiculous for making such a big financial decision based on people. But when you, one, join panels like this, but two, reach out to people on LinkedIn, or you might want to follow up with Erica and she can connect you to the social chair of swim, and they'll give you the people who volunteered to talk to prospective students. How accessible and truly helpful everyone was something that I found like over and above versus what I expected. And even like alumni keep talking. The network now for me continues to grow at Deloitte. Like there's a whole Sloanie network that you get added to on Teams that, like, even if you're looking to move within the company or on a different project, like they take care of each other for life. And so the people were just truly great and really humble while being really smart, and that extends into the broader MIT community. And then I'd also say that whole broader community. So I was interested in healthcare and life science and didn't want to give up my technical chops. I think the LGO program is an amazing opportunity to do 2 degrees in 2 years, which is kind of insane if you think about it. But like the classes, I did take a design class, and so I picked one in the mechanical engineering school. They don't care that I wasn't a mechie, it was fine. And we did medical device design, and I got to work with these brilliant undergrad and graduate students solving problems that actual hospitals and medical companies put forward to ask our help on. So once again, back to that mission driven, it wasn't like dream up something and make it out of cardboard. We were doing like actual prototyping and writing scientific papers. And the same thing happens through the business school as well. So everything is really impactful, thought out. People really want to work with us because it is MIT, and the people are so incredibly humble and kind and amazing while obviously being very intelligent. So yeah, I think it's a really magical place, and hope everyone applies.
Thank you both. Those were such great answers, and definitely agree with the community here as well. Like I made a big part of my decision also was just the people and really like finding myself identifying with the community here. So that being said, would definitely love to hear more about the community experience from a few more of our panelists. So if you could just describe in your own words the community at Sloan, especially the community for women at the school, it would be helpful for us to hear more about that. So if we could start with Irene and then have Bindu answer the question as well.
Ooh, I'll have to start by echoing everything everyone said, in that I chose Sloan largely because of the people in the community, and what I saw in the people in the community was that everyone was humble, kind, doers, problem solvers. That's what I expected, and that's definitely what I've seen. It's all been true and amazing. I am also an officer with SWIM. So this past year, I was one of the community chairs, and I actually wasn't sure coming into my first MBA year if I was going to do any club leadership positions. There's so many opportunities at Sloan. You get this advice, you have to be really thoughtful about what you pick and choose to do with your time. And SWIM was the first thing that tipped the scales for me, because I thought it was so meaningful and important to be part of the community of women here in this really transformative period of time. And as I thought about my past experiences, like in undergrad, I was part of a sports team of women that really became a super special part of that experience. And so once I started meeting students at Sloan and getting to know more about SWIM, I knew it could be that place for me. And so I was really excited to participate in leadership. And going back to grad school was a little overwhelming, especially after COVID and basically being in my apartment for a year and a half, 2 years. You go from kind of those four walls to meeting hundreds of people who are all really excited to meet each other. And I kind of had to remember, you know, the confidence to walk up to someone and start a conversation, and what it was like to kind of break into friend groups and find connection with people. And I think SWIM helped a lot with that, first because it's such a straightforward way to meet upperclassmen who can really shape your experience with their advice and guidance, especially if they have similar interests to you. And also because once I got to know other women in SWIM, I felt really comfortable walking up to them and chatting with them in the hallways. I feel like that actually is something that continued all year as I planned events and helped other SWIM officers plan events. Someone mentioned the Yarn earlier, which is the storytelling group at MIT. That was one of my favorite events that I helped plan as part of SWIM's flagship event every year, where we ended up having 4 students tell really honest and vulnerable and meaningful stories about what it meant to either be a woman or engage with women in their lives. And so that was a really rambling answer, but I hope it kind of paints the picture of how much the community at Sloan has shaped my experience from entering Sloan through my whole first year. I'm also part of AAA, the Asian American Alliance, as like a different affinity organization, if anyone has questions about that.
That's great, Irene. So I think the community aspect and all that is shared is such a common feeling, right? Like for me, I am part of a mid-career program called Sloan Fellows. Any mid-careers listening to me, I thought at this stage of my life, I was thinking of, you know, what is my next pivot, or what do I do with my life, at least the second part of my career, I guess. Sloan Fellows program was super helpful. We actually had a women's committee that was responsible for women within the Sloan Fellows program. If you think about it, in a mid-career, women are, you know, mostly married and with children. Even, you know, our single women who were looking into, you know, advancing their careers. We had diverse group of women from so many different countries. The 40 of us pretty much are like, you know, friends for life now. Like we have this group of women that we could talk about anything, like pick a topic. There's somebody in the group that'll just say, hey, Bindu, let me jump on a call with you. Let's figure this out. So that kind of a community aspect is, it's priceless. There's no words to explain that more, you know. And then we, as the women part of the Sloan Fellows community, always were in touch with the SWIM group. SWIM does an amazing job bringing speakers and, you know, any communication within the Sloan network, they usually share with us. So it was nice to be part of a program that you are on campus and still work with other groups like the 2-year MBAs, MFINs, LGOs, and even outside Sloan, you know, I took a couple of classes in engineering schools and also at Harvard. So I think the community aspect was great. Other clubs that I was involved in is healthcare. Obviously, I'm like, I have to do this. So I was part of organizing the healthcare conference that happens in fall. That was a fantastic experience, you know, trying to get all the investors together so they could really go through the competition that happens, you know, and all the ideas that are usually presented during the conference is amazing. The network is amazing because Boston, you know, Cambridge is a healthcare hub. So it's the best place to be, I think, and if you're interested in healthcare. What other clubs? I was also part of a people and org club, which was like, I think it's a very young club. We wanted to see how Sloanies can help in changing policies and thinking of benefits and policies of different organizations, because sometimes I think the policies that people establish, there's no women at the tables who are writing those things, and how can we change those things in different organizations? So we spoke about that. And yeah, there's management consulting group of people who are interested in consulting would actually help you with the interview process and would jump on a call with you to help you through the preparation. So there's so many clubs, and you just have to cherry pick. I think for me, the analogy is like candy store. You go in and almost every candy is sweet, and you just have to pick the right flavor that works for you. So I think that's it. Back to you, Erica.
Thank you. I like the cherry picking from a candy store analogy that you just used for the student clubs, because it's true. There's so many amazing ones, and you just have to pick the few that you're excited to be involved in. Great. Well, I know was also wondering, Monica, if you could speak a little bit more to your experience too with your involvement with the affinity groups during your time at Sloan. I believe you were also part of swim leadership at one point, so it would be great to hear about your experience as well.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you, Erica. So I was part of swim leadership my first year, as well as to an extent my second year. But typically these positions are held by first years, at least back when I was an MBA. So I was the vice president of admissions on swim while I was there. And in this role, I actually worked very closely with Donna, alongside another VP of admissions, and we would partner to host different events, very similar to this one, although back in the day they were all in person, and really introduce the Sloan community and experience to interested students. So this was extremely rewarding experience for me. And I think what I loved was sitting down with Donna and talking through like, hey, what are we doing to attract more women to the program or women from underrepresented groups? And just thinking through some of these problems and different ways that we could bring these populations in for events and ways that they could get to know Sloan better was just such a meaningful part of my experience. And as I mentioned earlier, it sort of inspired me to do what I'm currently doing at Capital One, which is very similar to what I did at Sloan.
Thanks so much, Monica. Okay, so now would like to talk a little bit more about the collaborative culture at Sloan. I think I've already heard it multiple times in the answers from our panelists about how collaborative and supportive the community is. So Lauren and then Tosin, could you talk a little bit more about how the collaborative culture supported you well at Sloan?
Yeah, definitely. I think one of the first things that comes to mind is support through classes, and then there was people just culturally supporting each other, and then people supporting prospective students. So for like normal class support, you go through your core MBA core your first semester, and for some people it's really easy. Like if you're coming from accounting or consulting, then some of the data analysis, or if you're a business major in undergrad, like econ's easy. Some of us didn't have any of that. We have people coming from teaching. I had a heart surgeon on my core team who, like, I was so intimidated to join. I was like, oh my God, there's a heart surgeon. Like, who am I? And then she was amazing, but she hadn't had to touch Excel in years because she was doing open heart surgery on people. And like, we had to teach her how to make a graph, like not like literally how to make a graph, because she hadn't used Excel since probably first year of undergrad, like 7 years ago. So it's really humbling in a lot of ways, but people come in and support you, and they do a really good job making the core teams. But so people will help tutor each other because you still have exams, even though you do a lot of the work as a team, and not, you don't have to care about grades. I should start with that. I did, but you don't have to. I'm rather type A. But anyway, so like there were people in our ocean who led like accounting tutoring sessions to help all of us who just weren't getting it. And this was during the pandemic, so they like did it on Zoom and sent the invite out and helped everyone learn. People would host sessions on whatever you needed to help support and build people up, which was really great. And then when you move into the community, I think people did a really good job of helping make space for everyone. So COVID was at its peak when I was in school, and we had a lot of international students who were living in the dorms, and due to restrictions, like couldn't have a lot of people over and were away from their family. This is common because it's harder to get a lease sometimes, so they choose to live in student housing. And so like we would have, within the regulations of what was allowed at the time, social gatherings, or do like online Zoom things where people would cook food from their community and teach everyone a recipe to try and help that, but really just supporting people through that hard time and understanding that some people didn't have people nearby and like really needed that extra outreach. And then supporting prospective students. So I was on the DEI committee of Sloan Senate and worked a lot with Donna to help figure out ways to make sure our application and questions were written in ways that were accessible to everyone. Like even if you didn't have the same background, you would know how to answer the question. Or were we creating access for everyone to have the same ability to maybe visit the school, connect to people? A peer of mine, Allegra Stennett, started an effort where we could help do an unofficial effort where we could help do application editing. So if you were like a first-time business student and didn't have a network or anyone to read your application for you, unfortunately we couldn't serve everyone who needed it because there were only so many student volunteers, but helping support that, supporting first gen low income college students and things of that nature. So I think that community of support really spans whether you're a prospective student, a current student, or an alumni. It is really part of the fabric here.
And I can attest to what Lauren shared. The spirit of collaboration at Sloan, it happens before you even get to Sloan. There's the support you get when you're applying, of course, while you're there, and then once you graduate. So I had a current student read my essay, provide in-depth feedback, give me some tips, like even, adding a comma, like things that he shouldn't even have been concerned with, but he wanted me to be successful in the process. Other students helped me with my interview. When I got to Sloan, there's kind of three concentric, well, that's not it. Oh my God. There's three different areas where you'll do a lot of collaboration. So there's your schoolwork, there's clubs and activities and student programming, and then there is recruiting. And you're collaborating constantly, whether it is working with, former bankers or consultants to get interview prep, all the conferences, all the programming, collaborating across programs at Sloan, across programs at MIT, across programs in the Cambridge area, and the community globally. Also collaborating with current students, the faculty and staff, administration, and then alumni communities. And then collaborating just with your classmates and so on. And then there's your schoolwork, like everything Lauren mentioned. And then, of course, once you graduate, you can tap into the Sloan network for that career support, for any kind of guidance that you're looking for. I think the thread that runs through all of those phases and areas is that over the course of those conversations, you can build very strong connections with people that you may not ordinarily have. So like for me, just talking to my classmates and collaborating and hearing their stories, it demystified so many things for me, like entrepreneurship. It's like entrepreneurship is just like in the water at Sloan. And just seeing people's passions come to life and seeing them start companies and raise money and solve meaningful problems. It's just, it empowers you to realize like, oh, wow, with collaboration, with teamwork, I can address some of these problems or problems that I'm passionate about. So yeah, the collaboration is a great vehicle to build really great relationships that serve you once you leave Sloan and can really help you realize any of your goals or your plans on long term.
Awesome. Thanks so much. So these have all been really great and insightful answers, and I know it has spurred a lot more questions from our audience. I've seen quite a few come through in our Q&A. So I know we promised we'd save about 20 minutes at the end, so wanted to move into that portion of this as well. So we'll go through and pick some of the questions that have been posted in the Q&A feature. If you have any more that have come along as well, please feel free to continue utilizing that. And so then I'll ask the question, and then any panelist who would like to answer, feel free to come off mute and help out with that question. So we have one question from Kathleen that's about the mentorship experience. So the question is, could you talk about any women mentors you gained because of Sloan's MBA program or from joining SWIM specifically? How did you develop that relationship with your mentor, and how did that mentorship impact your career post-MBA?
I can add a quick comment there. For me, I would say since, I experienced the mid-career phase, almost every woman that came into our program had 15, almost 20 years experience. So it was nice to learn from each other who came from different industries. Like, for example, I came from healthcare, technology and ops experience, and I needed to understand how to have a conversation with a CFO, especially as I'm building my startup. I have, a couple of CFOs in my group who will pick my call and walk me through certain concepts and how do I manage those conversations. There's women who, ran go-to-market strategies in sales and marketing. So definitely your own cohort is the best gift you get when you come to MIT. I think I would start there first. The other thing I would say is I think some of the female leaders, especially female CEOs who are MIT alums who came and spoke to us in different classes, are a powerhouse of energy and kind of you can aspire to one day be like them and hopefully come back and pay forward to other students who are at MIT. And those, especially Sloanies help Sloanies. So no matter what position they have in their communities or in the companies they're in, when you contact them, they usually respond to you. So I was able to speak to a couple of female leaders who came and spoke to me. In fact, as I'm building my startup, I have the CEO of BMC who came and spoke to me, and I've had a couple of conversations with her. How did she serve the Medicaid population here? And as we design our application and the solution, we want to make sure we're inclusive, not just the people who could afford private insurance. How do we make sure our solution reaches the Medicaid population? Just that's one recent example that I could share. Yeah, I'd say if anybody else want to add something, please go ahead.
Yeah, I actually leveraged the Sloan Fellows too. Is Bindu just said they're like more mid-career, and I don't know how much in the affinity groups, but they really do reach out and especially join the different industry groups. And so if you want a specific gender, ethnicity, etc., you contact the people who match whatever you're looking for. But especially for looking to career pivot, the professors were really great, and the career center was really great. But really, like joining the healthcare club, for instance, and then talking to Sloan fellows who had healthcare experience and women in healthcare and things like that was really powerful. And I think the overall MBA community does not engage with them as much. So everyone I talked to was like super enthusiastic to help and really willing. So I think just even within your own Sloan community, there are mentors, either whether it be your peers or the more senior Sloan fellows who can help give insight and mentorship as well.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren and Bindu. Those are both really helpful answers. So wanted to switch it up to talk a little bit more about some of the travel opportunities you get in the MBA and then also experiential learning. So could you talk a little bit more about what some of those opportunities you've had either to travel or do some of our action learning classes at Sloan, or maybe both at the same time, which is also a benefit that some of those have. Would love to hear more about how this impacted your time at Sloan.
I'm happy to jump in here, and then Tosin, I saw you come off of mute as well, so we'll popcorn it over to you as well. A couple of travel experiences that I would love to highlight are when I was an incoming first year, I signed up for what we call at MIT a pre-function, which is a pre-program opportunity led by second year students to go to a variety of different places. Well, you choose one, but there are a variety of options. So you can go to a place, spend a few days with anywhere between 15, I think it was, to 40 different incoming first year students. So I joined the Lisbon trip going into my first year. It was an absolutely incredible experience. I made a ton of close friends on that trip who I am still really close with today. We loved it so much that 4 of us ended up leading the trip as second years and went back to Lisbon. So that was really fun going full circle. A couple of other experiences that I'll highlight. So I highly recommend taking advantage of the different travel opportunities that are presented at Sloan. I think it's just such a nice way to bond with your classmates and also experience different cultures. Oftentimes these trips are planned by students who grew up in these countries, and so you get to travel and have like all the insider information of the fun places to go and the great places to eat. So I participated in the Japan trip, and I also went to Israel and thought those were amazing experiences. And then last but not least, on the experiential learning front, I took a sustainability focused course at MIT, and we, as part of the course, got to travel to Chile for 2 weeks. Learned a ton on that trip, thought it was really interesting to visit a few different places and learn about different sustainability practices. So highly recommend the travel. It was a really positive part of my experience.
Yeah, echoing what Monica shared, one of the upsides about going to Sloan is that Boston Logan Airport is just over in Boston. It's really easy to get to. I know my friends at Yale had a tough time either getting to JFK or to Boston to travel. So just letting you know the reality. So as far as traveling, similar to Monica, I did a pre-function to Mykonos, Greece. It was great because we maintained East Coast hours partying. So it was a great, transition from like full-time work into, business school party life, got me ready for the full semester. In addition, I was able to attend the Brazil trek, which was just 10 days of like laughing nonstop. Lots of inside jokes. And it's really important to invest in these trips because so many relationships are formed. And definitely prioritize as many as you can manage. If it's possible. I know it's not possible for every single student, but it's a great opportunity to meet get to know your classmates outside of campus. There's also the opportunity to do experiential learning. So I worked with the chocolate company in Quito, Ecuador. So spent 6 weeks there for a global entrepreneurship lab. And I also worked with the Misty Center. They are actually located on campus as well. On the Sloan campus, and they offer a range of global opportunities. So I took part in a global startup lab the summer after I graduated. It was fully funded, and I was able to travel to Kigali, Rwanda, and conduct a 6-week boot camp for university students, and all of it was fully covered. So there's so many opportunities to travel at Sloan. I know they also issue grants if there's something you want to research or learn more about. And that said, you can also do lots of personal travel. Either with Sloanies, non-Sloanies. I went to Aruba, I went to Europe, London, and Paris. I took random trips. And I also did lots of local traveling as well. So Sloan Gala, you get to go to Rhode Island. I did Camp Sloan. I did not Martha's Vineyard. Was it Martha's Vineyard? Sorry. Well, I'm so sorry. It's in Massachusetts. And it's on water. But I went out there.
Cape Cod.
Cape Cod. I think that was it. Didn't do a dual geography degree, clearly, but yeah, went out to Cape Cod. So there's tons of opportunities. And then with recruiting too, I went out to the Bay Area for recruiting. I know that lots of folks went to New York. there's so much opportunity. People went to Florida, Texas area, so many opportunities just to get to know your backyard, especially for international students. America is so vast. So it's a great opportunity to, go home for the holidays with their classmates and do all sorts of fun things like that.
Thank you. Yeah, I think too, a bonus of the Sloan program is that it's located in Boston, because there's like so many really fun places to travel, even just within the Northeast, that are just a short car ride away, which makes it really accessible. So, I mean, I know I'm biased, but I think it's a great location. So I know we have a lot of life sciences and healthcare representation on this panel, very serendipitously. So was hoping some of you could speak specifically to how Sloan has supported your experience learning more about healthcare and life sciences. Maybe if any of you have had the opportunity to do the healthcare certificate, would be great to hear more about those resources.
Yeah, I did the healthcare certificate. It was really great. I think it really just, I think the wonderful thing about certificates, even if you decide not to fully get one, is it shows that a school has a detailed and deep enough and broad enough set of curriculum in the area you're interested in to like be able to make a certificate, right? So if you're interested in focusing on something specific with your MBA and a school has a certificate in that space, like they take that seriously. There's going to be more than enough classes for you to take. Likely there's going to be companies that recruit in that space. And all of that really helps, or at least help me build my confidence that, because not all MBA programs do healthcare, for instance. So it helped me, instead of having this huge course catalog that's amazing at MIT and Sloan, figure out which ones are like the key essential ones to get a business fundamental in healthcare. And then it also helped me meet peers, because we are a fairly large school, meet people in those classes that had an interest in that, and they had like social mixers and other stuff for the certificate. And through that, help make those connections. A lot of people come from the industry but want to pivot within the industry. So for someone like me who is new to it, I could ask them questions like, what news articles do you subscribe to? Like what, MedTech Digest, and there's all kinds of like daily emails you can get that tell you what's happening in the industry and things that I didn't know about. And just having those that helped me before I even went into interviews to like sound like I knew enough about what I was talking about that people would interview me. So I really like the certificate from a intellectual standpoint, and then also from the people it connected me to that I think I wouldn't have been able to do that transformation like on my own using LinkedIn, not getting the MBA.
And I'll jump in. Going beyond the certificate, there's so much going on all across MIT, not just Sloan. And I think that interdisciplinary mix is one of the best things that you can do in school and at MIT, taking advantage of the full breadth of resources. So one thing that I did in the fall, MIT has this organization called Hacking Medicine, which holds healthcare focused hackathons with different themes. And so I participated in the hackathon. It was like my first hackathon. I'm not like a coder, and that's not what it was about. It was about healthcare and idea for services or an app. And I got to meet an amazing group of women, including some, actually it was women coincidentally, but we did work on a women's health topic. And not just MBAs, not just LGOs, but also students from Harvard, like the Harvard Chan School of Public Health, just kind of the whole ecosystem around Harvard coming together in an event run by MIT Hacking Medicine. There's also in the Boston area a pairing program called Nucleate. If you're interested in healthcare entrepreneurship, you as a student can be paired with a PhD student, or you as a business student can be paired with a technical partner, maybe a PhD student or even a professor sometimes, on an idea they're working on. So it's like a super early stage project that you can help them build from the ground up. And then the last thing I'll say is the healthcare conference, which has already been mentioned, but I also helped plan it this past year. And I was on the sponsorship side. So that was another way I got to reach out to alumni at companies that I was interested in, even though I was like, please give us money. But it was so cool to be part of the conference experience experiences because you can really curate the speakers and the panels and the types of conversations and interaction that are most interesting to you. I know Eric can probably also speak to this as well. But I just think like classes are amazing. There is a wealth of them. Certificate is super helpful, a great structured way. But in addition to that, I just wanted to highlight there's so much healthcare going on that really taps into the whole healthcare community and ecosystem in Boston. And so that's all been really great.
Thank you both. I also highlight too, I know Irene mentioned the healthcare conference, but Sloan hosts many student-led conferences across all the different areas. Like I know our sustainability summit, which usually happens in April, is like a huge, very well-attended conference. So no matter what your interests are, it's a great opportunity to get tapped into people who are interested in that topic and also meet professionals in that area by getting involved with one of those. And I believe you should be able to find online what some of our current conferences are. So I think we have probably time for just one more question here. So was hoping if we could just end on anyone who could speak to a little bit more. The question is, what was the most important factor for choosing Sloan, specifically thinking about your experience as a woman?
I can add my 2 cents by saying, I think Sloan's mission, that was something that, oh, you know, I want to know more about this because I already had certain personal values in my life that aligned to what Sloan was talking about, you know, being principled and innovative and improving the world, you know, like I think coming to MIT and Sloan is actually a privilege, you know, like all of you who are on this call, who are even considering to come to a school like this, like many of us have this privilege to think of options like this. So how do we use that kind of privilege, even if that comes after certain hard work in your life and you come to a phase in your life that, you know, I want to do something else, something more to improve the world? Sloan is the place. Almost every single class where we crunch numbers, it's MIT, you got to crunch numbers in class. Every professor talks about how are you going to use this and how are you going to innovate and improve the world. I think that was fascinating to me, and I wanted to continue that energy of innovation and engineering and making things better. One other thing that I would add is, especially to the Sloan Fellows program, our motto in the Sloan Fellows program is no fellow left behind, and we lived it through and through. Entire year, there were folks that came with no finance background or no accounting or econ background, but then we had these experts in the industry, these kind of, you know, famous economists in their respective fields would just say, hey, let's have a session, let's schedule a study session with the group, and they brought the group together in a way. And I think Lauren shared this example of somebody not knowing how to use a spreadsheet because they were busy doing what they're good at, right? So recognizing that all of us are good at something and then being open to learning from others is the best thing that happens at MIT. So I think that those 2 things brought me here, and I've had the best experience. I'm telling you, it's the best year of my life. So, and the energy is still like so fresh because I just barely graduated and I'm like in the celebration mode.
Congrats, Bindu. I can follow up and build on what you shared. I think the beauty of Sloan is, and the perspective that I got, the perception that I got, because a lot of the business school kind of shopping process is based off perception from alumni, website, information sessions, and the perception I got from Sloan that I just couldn't quite match in any other program was the focus on like, you can actually put mind in hand and address any single problem that you're interested in. And I really don't want to understate how much funding is available on campus just for you to explore your ideas. Whether it's traveling to a place to do research whether it's doing research with a professor anywhere at MIT, and getting paid like really well to do research, to offset some of your expenses. Like, there's just so many avenues by which you can, do it yourself, or do it through a class, or just learn from your classmates through conferences and getting exposed to new things. Like, I didn't enter Sloan wanting to do a sustainability certificate, but then I realized, oh, I've already taken most of the classes anyway, so I might as well get the certificate. And it just happened organically. But it ended up being an interest that I'm going to continue investing in my career. So those are the kinds of realizations and conclusions that you're able to draw when you just have that time to focus on yourself and your learning. As far as community, I was the co-president of the Africa Business Club and I chaired the Africa Innovate Conference, heavily involved with Black Business Students Association and working closely with Hispanic Business Club. And a huge part of our charter was to increase the representation of underrepresented groups at Sloan. So working with admissions, working with student life to make sure that we were attracting these students, and then we were retaining and making them feel included. So you don't have any choice. You have to be a leader. When you're an underrepresented student, underrepresented woman on campus, a lot of things are going to come to mind that aren't going to stand out for other people. And you just have to seize the opportunity to work on it. The great thing about Sloan is that the administration is so receptive. We could go to student life, we could go to admissions, we could I think one summer we were like, hey, no one's going to any city in Africa to recruit students. So we just reached out to alumni and said, hey, this is happening on this date. They put it on the website, they put it on the social media. And I think across Nigeria, Kenya, South Africa, we had all these sold out sessions or at capacity sessions. And that's the kind of agency you have at Sloan as a student. And I think all in all, I'll just close with this. The best thing about the MBA, I thought I was going to learn about business. What I didn't realize is that I spent more time learning about myself. It's an incredibly personal experience. You grow so much, and it's by learning about yourself and the kind of leader you want to be that you actually end up understanding what contribution you want to make. The business stuff, it's going to come. You're going to stick. Some stuff is going to stick. Some stuff you're going to want to forget it. Some stuff you'll really shine and expand on. But the bettering and understanding of yourself, standing in that real self-realization is so impactful, and it stays with you, I hope, forever. And that's been my biggest takeaway from Sloan and the MBA experience.
Wow. Thank you so much, Tosin. That was a perfect way to end the panel, really. Absolutely perfect, because I agree with you very much on exactly that point. So before we wrap up, a huge thank you to Erica and Bindu, Irene, Monica, Tosin, and Lauren for spending time with us this evening and for being so thoughtful in terms of your responses to everyone and to all of the questions. Hopefully you all liked what you heard and are interested in pursuing one of our many degrees. And so here I have for you a list of our application deadlines. I'll just highlight a few things. MBA application is live. Round 1 deadline is September 27th. LGO this year is only having one deadline, and it's November 8th. Sloan Fellows is only having 2 deadlines. Previously, it had 3. It's only 2. First deadline is October 3rd. MFin and Business Analytics both have a deadline right after the new year, January 4th. And for MBA early admissions, it will be sometime in April. Stay tuned. I also want to just remind you that we have this whole series. This is only our second in a series of identity and inclusion panels like this one. Coming up next will be on August 15th. Is Hispanic and Latinx. And then you can see we have a whole host of them taking us all the way through September. The veterans one still needs to be finalized, but it will be on the website as soon as it gets finalized. And all of the panels discussions will be at 7 p.m. Eastern time. If you want to learn a little bit more about SWIM, here's some contact information for you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. And then finally, a huge thank you again to our panelists and to all of you who have connected with us today. There are many other ways for you to stay connected with us. You are welcome to send emails. We will constantly be updating information on our website. And with that, I just want to thank everybody for joining us, and please stay safe. Thank you all.